But I just want to say this. That talk we had with Aaron Schatz, I don't usually, we do tons of interviews on this show. They don't usually linger with me. But that first segment we did with Aaron Schatz last week where we talked specifically, he's an MVP voter. He's one of, he's one of 50. So he's 2% of the entire pool. He just refuses. He gave a good reason why. He will not vote for a non-quarterback for this. And so it's going to be fascinating. Who does he think really is the MVP at this point this year? But it was interesting because if I had just quoted him those stats, he still would have come back. Nope, Tua's the guy then. Tua's still the MVP. I'm curious what Drew Dinsick thinks about that. He is the host of not one but two podcasts, Deep Dive, which he does with Andy Molitor, of course, and then NBC Sports Bet the Edge. You can follow him on Twitter at whale_capper. I didn't plan on talking to you about this, but I'm curious. If you had an MVP vote, Drew, who is it right now for you?
It's Pat Mahomes, and it's pretty uninspiring to even really kind of make this case because I just don't think that anyone has done enough to take the crown away from him so far this season. Mahomes' numbers, considering what he's been, and I guess maybe this goes to a broader point where I'm just a little frustrated with the quality of the play in the NFL and it feels like, they have done this to themselves because you had a player like Tyreek Hill with Pat Mahomes, and in the sake of fairness and spreading the wins around, you divorced those two players, and now Tyreek Hill is making Tua look like he's in the conversation with Pat Mahomes for the best quarterback, and he's not.
He's not.
He is not.
He's not.
He is not.
Yeah.
And so this is not even really to denigrate Tua. Like, if you want to make the case that he's top 5, I'll listen to you. You want to kind of pull out like your entire arguments. I'm still going to tell you that I'm concerned about his availability. He yet to play 17 games in a season. Yet to play 16 games in a season. And I think that if he could make it through this entire season in full health, that's a huge step forward. And I want more good young quarterbacks in this league. But I don't think anyone really can hold a candle right now to Mahomes and what he's done throughout his career and to this point in this season with the cast of characters that's been injured and or just developing very slowly. And I think the fact that they're winning in spite of that means some of it may be schedule related and who they've had to face so far. But for me, it's basically this is Mahomes, and then somebody's going to have to come take it from him. And right now, you're not seeing enough consistent quality play from the quarterback position across the league to warrant any other consideration here. I know Tua is the current favorite. Tua's coming off back-to-back games against the Giants and the Panthers. Congratulations, everybody thinks you're amazing. Like it's not. It's just there's actually in my mind there's a case to be made against Tua because he hasn't banked enough of an EPA advantage over Mahomes to this point, despite the fact that you've already seen 2 of his best games that he's going to have all season. Just in terms of their offensive output. Against the Broncos and against the Giants. So it's still Mahomes to lose, and I think anyone at the end of the season is going to have a tough time, given the clear quality difference in his play versus the field that anyone's going to literally say, yeah, no, this is the best player in the NFL right now over Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, what I was trying to get to is there's just so much nuance in all of this. By the way, just for thoroughness' sake, Tua is the short shot, plus 350 at DraftKings. Patrick Mahomes is plus 450. Josh Allen, 7-1. Jalen Hurts, after his performance this past week, plus 750. And then Brock Purdy begins the double-digit crowd at 11-1. It's going to be really fascinating how they deal with MVP, how they deal with Offensive Player of the Year this year as well. What about Offensive Rookie of the Year? Who's that right now? Because for those of us who are holding Puka Nacua tickets, Puka Nacua is still tied for the league lead in receptions, and it feels like his head coach and his quarterback and their buddy Cooper Kupp have actively phased him out. That's how it feels, and yet he's still tied for the lead league in receptions. It's got to be C.J. Stroud as the main guy here, right, at this point?
Yeah, and I think there's kind of a stranglehold on almost every award, which is wild. Coach of the Year may be the exception, but yeah, C.J. Stroud right now is pretty clearly your Offensive Rookie of the Year. Again, because he's winning games as a rookie quarterback, because he's not making the key mistakes, he's not taking sacks, he's not throwing picks. His numbers at the end of the year are going to be pretty outstanding relative to the other rookie quarterbacks. So it's going to be tough to beat him, even if you do have, any type of generational, stat line from a guy like a rookie wide receiver like Puka Nacua. It's still going to be tough to run down a quarterback who's playing as well as Stroud is. So I get it why he's minus 135, and don't have an appetite to attack him in that market.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, same sort of story. The only guy I could see running down Tyreek Hill is Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is on bye this week, so there's really no emergency at all to go run into the offensive player of the year market. Tyreek Hill going up against a beaten up secondary in Philly this week should be able to continue to put together his performance. But I think it's worth noting, like, Tyreek Hill is on pace for
Yes.
the all-time record, right? He's getting 135 yards a game to this point of the season through the good portion of the weather, with a healthy quarterback, against some of their weaker competition. Like, he's going to have to average over his career high to get the yardage record from Calvin Johnson this season, which to me, I think there is a path for somebody to run him down, just because the bar has been set that if he doesn't set that record, I think people are going to make the case for another player.
But this is my point. Tyreek on pace for 2,300 yards. No one's ever gotten 2,000. If Tua gets 5,000 yards passing, 15 others have done that. That's not an MVP, Tyreek? We'll come back. More with Drew next, Week 7. Drew Dinsick, at @whale_capper. Both the Deep Dive and Bet the Edge podcast from NBC Sports joins us once again. So, Drew, on a weekend, Week 6, Scott Kazmar was tweeting earlier that 9 teams won with fewer than 21 points. 9 teams won with fewer than 21 points. I mean, that is, and again, he put it sort of in historical context for us, which is that's the whole salary cap era. That's from 1994. That hasn't happened. Second time since 1994. What did you learn most from Week 6, and what have you bet in Week 7?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some wild anomalies all year. Like, I think Week 4, you had 7 teams that didn't score an offensive touchdown. Like, these are wild, weird, outlier type of bad offensive performances you're getting from these teams so far.
Is there a reason? Is there a reason for that, by the way? Do you attribute it to just not taking preseason seriously? Like, what's the reason?
It's a good question, and I don't have all of the answers. My understanding or my assumption is that defenses are just ahead of offense right now in terms of how to scheme effectively for the type of quarterback play and the type of skill position players that are available right now. There was a pretty significant wave and shift of defensive style of play in the wake of Pat Mahomes just burning every team over the top, where now teams are playing with more defensive backs on the field, and they've now pivoted from more defensive backs on the field to having one of those guys that is especially good at run fit. And so base defense has kind of shifted away from, any type of, extra off ball linebackers, which are kind of useless in today's game. So, it's been pretty clear, at least, that defenses and the way that they're trying to defend the current state of the NFL is making it tougher for teams to perform well in the red zone, making it tougher for them to have explosive plays. And I think for those reasons, you're seeing a lot more of these sort of chess matches decided by field goal type of games. And, I don't know that we've seen anyone really solve that style of defensive, personnel, at least not effectively. We've seen a bunch of teams try to come up with innovative ways to make life harder on them. A couple of, the more successful offenses so far this season seem to be teams that are pivoting into heavier personnel packages, having 2 tight ends on the field. But if one or both of those tight ends aren't, real threats to catch the pass, then I think you're pretty clearly telegraphing you're going to run, and then defenses, you're somewhat predictable. So it's kind of a mix, I think, of we had a huge amount of turnover in offensive coordinators in the offseason. It wasn't talked about a lot, but there was something like 12 or 18 new offensive coordinators combined with 5 new quarterbacks. And by the way, we have a wave of 3 rookies that started Week 1 combined with 3 guys who had made hardly any starts in their career, 4 if you want to include Kenny Pickett. And so you basically had a third of the league with brand new quarterback play, half of the league with brand new offensive coordinators. Oh, and by the way, defenses right now are ahead of offense in general. So I think all kind of stewing to make a little bit more of a defensive product to start the season. And it's not going to change or get better anytime soon. I'm losing count now, 8 quarterback injuries.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
look forward to that, boys and girls. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have fun? Do a little thought exercise. What should be the total in a game between Aiden O'Connell and Tyson Bagent? What's a fair total there, guys? Because I don't know the answer.
Wow.
I mean, like there's realistically below 50th percentile quarterback play across almost half of the teams that are going to suit up this Sunday. And this Sunday, this week is going to be even tougher because you have 6 teams on bye, and these are the dog days of the NFL season, particularly with what's going on with the injuries.
On guessing lines yesterday, the first 3 games, we didn't know 5 of the 6 quarterbacks that would be playing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, so obviously the betting market is drifting now with lower totals. Did you get ahead of any of those this week?
No, I'm pretty much out of the totals game for right now. I think we're kind of settling right around where they ought to be. The average total so far this season has been 44. The average actual points scored is about 43.5. So there's not a huge mean difference in terms of what the production has been in the totals. That said, unders are hitting at a 61% clip so far. I think that's, just in general, the median is missing the closing total by about a point and a half. So, as you look across the board this week, and, I haven't gone through the weather carefully to really kind of help buttress this, but the numbers look like they're starting to get pretty close to, what the current state of scoring is in the NFL, which is you want to be on the lower side of 43.
What did you bet so far?
I have a number of sides in the accounts, and so far the only reason that I'm on any of these is the adjustment between what I expected, with any kind of weight on a preseason prior and what is actually open right now is impossible to square. Good example is Patriots at 8.5 against the Bills. This reflects somewhere in the ballpark of a 6-point adjustment off of the preseason priors for these teams. And the Patriots, while they have not performed to the level that was expected, they have played a very tough schedule and, are at least healthier than the Bills. So I'm not sure 6 points there was warranted. And I think outside of a touchdown, I like the Patriots. Similarly, the Vikings at +7 against the Niners is a huge number. The Vikings are playing much better than their record so far this season. This preseason look ahead was San Francisco -1. So we've adjusted this one 6 points. And again, San Francisco is not coming in at a perfect state of health by any stretch of the imagination. Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey are all guys that matter for that offense, and they all went out in that game against the Browns, and now they have another road game with that an extra day to get right. But you read some of the quotes and some of the conversation around Shanahan, and it's pretty clear that they are not just planning for this Vikings game this week, but also for the Bengals game the following week, because they have a short week to prepare for that one. So a little bit of potential that San Francisco just tries to go in and get an ugly win and get out of town. So 7 points in pocket feels pretty good. Denver Broncos defense is getting a lot healthier. Green Bay Packers haven't done anything to really warrant a 4-point adjustment to the good relative to their preseason prior. So I like the Broncos money line at +100. This is again, we expected to see something like Broncos -3.5 based on the preseason priors. And I was Packers at -1.
Yeah, I was totally surprised the Packers were a favorite yesterday on guessing lines. And I'm no Broncos fan. I'm no Sean Payton fan, but I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, if Aaron Jones is good to go and he's 100%, then this is probably going to be a pretty competitive game, and Packers may win. But Broncos defense getting healthier matters, I think, and they're not. This is still not a great situation for the Packers to go in as favorites, in my opinion. Jordan Love is performing really, really poorly this season. I don't know really what to make of that.
Real quick, yes or no? Do you like that Kyle Shanahan and the Niners went back to Santa Clara between the Cleveland and Minnesota games?
I think it was the right call.
Okay.
The fact that the Minnesota game's on Monday night and you're not going to get a time advantage by acclimating to the Coast Central Time, whatever, that makes sense to me to go back. And yeah, the fact that they got to play at Cincinnati on a short week after, and they want their guys in their beds, all that checks out.
Thank you, Drew.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.